don't know if you've seen it. I think they misunderstood what I was saying about the nuclear family. You about to address that mistaken?
Yeah, I was gonna say because I put a comment under what you were saying. I don't think that they got it either, but I said that I'd agree with you. I ended up putting in the
On
comments.
what?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what did you say about the nuclear family? And then we're gonna read this comment and
On
then gonna
what?
go to the next video.
So I think I used the buzzword and that threw everything off when I hit that buzzword. So I'm not going to use it today. But
You had a
I want to use the buzzword.
different
Me
group
too. I don't know what you're talking about.
so
about
I was talking about intergenerational households
Mhm.
and the benefit that we have in intergenerational households. And when you was talking about the parents being the one that's supposed to teach the kids and not just send your kid to school, what kept coming up in my mind is if you work from 9 to 5 and it take an hour commute to get back, and then you got to fix food, so you done at maybe 6:40. You got to help your kids maybe for an hour and a half with their homework or however. Then you got to go to bed at 9 or 10 to be up to do it the next day. How do we spend the correct time teaching and guiding these kids when the majority of the day we're away from them? But the solution to that is intergenerational households. If you have other people there that can supplement what you can't do because you're out working, then you create a more cohesive unit that will yield better results. Yesterday, when I was talking about someone said that the nuclear family may have been the destruction of us as a family. They didn't understand that because I the person I as I delve deeper into it, I understand what this person was saying because they were speaking about intergenerational households got removed because people became individuals and created islands where it was just the mother, father, the children, and the dog, and you separated yourself from that uncle and that aunt and that grandmother and that grandfather and the cousin that may be there that all could have contributed to the success of the child.
We were talking about it, a couple weeks ago, and I fully agree with you on it, Marcus, regarding the intergenerational homes. However, in those instances, and this is kind of just trying to answer the first question that you posed, in those instances where you're working a 9 to 5, and how do you balance the time? First, you work with the other parent. If you're not together, you work with the other parent. So if you're working a 9 to 5, how can he or she, that other parent, work 6 to 3, meaning 6 p.m. to 3 a.m.? Because at this point, once you've had a kid, it's no longer about you. When will we fully get that in our heads? Once we've had the kid, that individualism and that me, that shit goes out the window. Because now it's about focusing your energy and your time. And the truth of the matter is, it was Shan, Mistaken, and I want to say Team Della that actually said this to me, because at that time, when I first started, I was working a whole bunch. It's about them. It isn't about me. Yeah, I bring in the money and I make pretty good money, but for what? If areas are lacking and what the kids want is the actual time, how do I make that adjustment so that the kids can get the actual time that they need and get if they need tutoring, mine didn't, but if they need tutoring, how can I ensure that they get that? How can I give them the individualized attention that's necessary for their growth? And we have to sacrifice. And we hate that word. We hate that word. Sacrifice and compromise. We hate that word. Those words are dirty words, but we have to do that in order to in order to guarantee the success, or not even guarantee, to help put our kids on the best path for success. If my kid is at a school with Shan or Mistaken, I can't rely on them to raise my kid for me and to be there after school because my kid needs help. I can't always guarantee that, but I can learn the material that they're learning.
So one of the things that you know how Marcus always say there's an answer for that. In this regard, I agree with the intergenerational family, and it makes a lot of sense. Like what you're saying, you're still talking about the nuclear family where the mom and dad are working together to make sure we cover the kids, versus if We had grandma, granddad. We had uncle, auntie. Oh, when you get out from school, go to auntie's house. Like that's how it was. So it really took a village. And what Marcus was trying to say was that the nuclear family kind of messed that up because they moved from, you know, the area in which the family was in. And then the somebody else was just saying, no, it wasn't the nuclear family. You can't blame the nuclear family. It was individual mind, you know, individualism. And but Marcus's point was, yes, but there's something that happened in between that led to that. So you started off with the intergenerational family, you moved to the nuclear family, and now everybody's individual. He was like, no, that's not it. And it really, well, that bridge, I think, all had to do with economics. That was my comment. It had everything to do with economics. Intergenerational families had to live together because they needed to pool their resources. Back then, too, they had a bunch of, you know, larger families. It made more sense. But then when you get to the nuclear family, they move out the house, meaning that they're taking some of their resources with them as well. And they're in their, you know, own little bubble. But that transition a lot of times is you're still at least within the same area or maybe the same state. But now, like, especially after the Great Migration, those nuclear families, they left the entire state and went somewhere else. And at that point, it is just your family that the focus is going to be on because you don't know anybody else. So the other person was saying, no, we created our own communities and that was our backup to our families, so to speak, which that is partly true. But the more focus became on making the money. And when you follow the money, a lot of times, like they say, money is the root of all evil. That's where that individualism starts kicking in because family is no longer the focal point. So the money becomes the focal point. And then the easier you make, like, and we talk about it to this, like now, like how the kids are so self-centered. Is a lack of things that, you know, they don't value when you're just giving it to them. And a lot of parents I heard say, I never had this. And so I wanted to make sure my kids got it. And when you raise kids like that to a degree, sometimes it does become about me. You're looking for somebody else to continue what your parents did, just giving you stuff without necessarily understanding the context of hard work and dedication and sacrifice, right? So I think that's where that bridge is based on y'all conversation, is the economics that created, you know, that led one to the next to the next.
Do you think I effectively communicated that, or they just wasn't listening to me?
I completely understood. I don't know if I was. I don't know. I completely understood what you're saying because as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, that's true. And then I was hearing the other person's argument, and I'm like, but you're not getting it. There's always a precursor to something. And what you were trying to say is, what was the precursor? You can't say nuclear family, you know, didn't destroy, but then you couldn't say exactly what, you know what I'm saying? He couldn't articulate that there is always the precursor. He's like, oh, nope, it just skipped over into individualism. No, it's usually a pattern.